So, my name's Dennis, I'm back. Talk a little fireside with Patrick. So Patrick, introduce yourself and kind of where you're from.
My name is Coach Patrick Ocampo. I am the nominal head coach for Missouri Valley College, more in an administrative capacity at this point. Missouri Valley College just started its program up this year. We have 2 teams present right now that are playing as we speak. So if I'm peeking over your shoulder at the board there, seeing how my boys are doing, I hope you'll forgive me. The collegiate scene, we jumped in on it this year. We were recruiting all last year. This is our first semester fielding 3 teams of League of Legends and 2 teams of Overwatch. We are offering scholarships. Last year we offered scholarships up to about 50% of your entire cost, tuition, room, and board. And we're not the only one doing it. So we're here to talk a little bit about collegiate esports, where it's going, how you can get recruited. So that's what we're doing.
That's awesome. Thank you. So why don't we kind of go back to the beginning and talk a little bit about how did college esports kind of get going and where did it start, those kind of things.
Collegiate esports actually goes back a lot further than just like League and Overwatch. There have been computer gaming clubs, at least since the early 2000s, if not earlier in college. Sorry, a lot of those were started up by the students and run by the students. Faculty basically just thought that it was, they would have a faculty facilitator, but the students would run the programs. Early programs like UCI just were all grassroots programs that were started up by the students. It's only been in the past few years that colleges have started to look at this as an athletic sport. Our university follows a model of athletic sports. We are under the athletic branch of Missouri Valley College, so I report to the athletic director, Tom Pfeiffer. Other schools are still running it as a club, which is a different sort of structure in terms of it. But colleges began to take it seriously because of the popularity of esports at the professional level. It's been a top-down kind of mentality where once the professional scene became very well established, the collegiate scene started to look at it, and now high schools are starting to get on board. So in the past few years, to give an example of how quickly the sport has grown, 3 years ago, the National Association of Collegiate Esports, which is our governing body, was formed with 7 schools. Some of them are actually here today: Columbia College, Maryville, Illinois, if I remember correctly, RMU, who was, I think, the first program to actually offer scholarships. We're all part of that. And that was 3 years ago with only 7 schools. We're 3 years ahead right now. There are over 100 schools that are involved with collegiate esports, and most of them are offering scholarships. So you also have NCAA affiliated organizations like the Peach Bowl Conference, and I know there's another one, it escapes my memory right now, that do have their own esports leagues that they are running right now in association with Riot Games. So it's becoming much more of a prevalent mainstream, if you will, collegiate, varsity sport. That's kind of where we're at right now. And the explosion has just started in the past couple of years.
That's really good. That's awesome. Yeah, I think I heard, what was it, last year, the year before, was it the Big Ten or whatever started theirs?
That was the other one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So that's, so what are some of the games that you guys are looking at that, I've heard some games aren't so good for colleges versus others. Kind of what are you seeing? What are some of the games that you guys have versus what you've seen other schools provide?
Well, our school decided to go with League of Legends, Overwatch, and Rocket League. So again, we have 3 teams of League of Legends running right now. We have 2 teams of Overwatch, and we have a Rocket League team that will be starting this spring. The one sport that we would have liked to have done was CSGO, but I had a conversation with our president, and because of its first-person shooter, realistic first-person shooter nature, they decided not to actually invest in it at this time. It's similar with other sports like Call of Duty, anything that has sort of a realistic first-person shooter sort of vibe to it. That's what our college decided opted not to actually invest in it. Other colleges do. Certainly, the National Association of Collegiate Esports runs tournaments for that. Collegiate Star League runs tournaments for it, so it is available at other colleges. It's a question of what colleges are comfortable comfortable about presenting.
So you mentioned that you have a few colleges. About how many colleges would you say have programs like this today?
Well, like I mentioned, it's about, with NACE, it's about 118, their last thing, of programs that are being run. Again, most of those have scholarships. That's just the ones that are associated with NECE. There are a bunch of other colleges that haven't actually bought into it or not, or these are, so a lot of the Big Ten schools don't have it. There are other colleges that are running it as independent right now, which is another option that we've done. So, I mean, at a conservative guess, we're probably, NAC is probably only about a third to a quarter of the colleges that are out there.
Wow, that's a lot of opportunity then.
Yeah, whether they offer scholarships or not is a question.
Yep.
It depends on how seriously they're sort of taking that model. The rule of thumb right now is that it is the mid-level schools and the smaller schools that are benefiting from esports more than anything else. And not to disparage the NCAA schools, but the Division I schools don't really see the need to actually invest in it if they've already got strong athletic programs. So
that makes sense.
We run into other schools that are from like larger universities, and we're not really afraid of the competition.
That's good.
With them. The schools that scare us obviously are Columbia College, which is a mid-sized school, RMU, and Maryville, right? Most of the best schools are actually in our region, which keeps me up at night. We have to play them, but that's sort of the mentality. As the mid-level schools, if you're interested in going to a mid-tier school, Division II, Division III, maybe a NIA affiliated school, those are the options that are available for you right now. And the best competition is actually at that level.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about scholarships earlier when you did your introduction. Is it possible for an athlete to get more of a full ride scholarship, or kind of what would that look like?
Well, I think the options are there. It depends on what other schools are offering right now. I mean, I know that we're sort of offering sort of in the 50% range, which is sort of in our comfort zone.
Right.
Most colleges won't offer you that much.
Okay.
To be honest, it depends on the sport and it depends on your skill level. If you are like a plat gold, you might get maybe a $10,000 scholarship or something like that. It is possible to get a little bit more than 50%. I think the two venues that would actually get you something higher, they would either be your Diamond Master level at League or relative equivalent in Overwatch, or if you can come in as a player coach with coaching experience.
Okay.
Because another interesting aspect of esports is that most of the professional coaching scene right now isn't very well developed because the sport has not been around very long. So most of the best coaches are still under 30 years old, and the best of the best are going to. Am I right? I'm sorry, my player coach is over there laughing at me. But most of them are under 29.
Yeah.
And the ones that are even had that amount of time are still are either going to academy teams or they're going to the professional circuit. And these guys are all, like I said, they're all under 30. So a lot of colleges, if you show maturity, right, and you understand really what it takes to be a solid coach, and you have good organizational skills, then the options are there to come in as an undergraduate, and your goal is either to coach in a specific coach or analyst position, which is actually a possibility for you.
Right. So with that, I mean, as a coach and trying to bring people in, and you're able to provide, at least a portion of that scholarship, are you seeing where you're actually helping them get, say, the academic scholarship that goes along with that?
Yeah.
To kind of help provide the entrance to coming in, right?
Yeah. Our policy is basically to give you the best scholarship that we can find for you. So if our cap, for example, at Missouri Valley College, if it's somewhere around the 50% range, if you have a 30 ACT score, you can get a full ride. If you have a 28 ACT score, we'll give you 7%, right? The minimum requirements are a GPA of 2.0, top half of your class, and I think that plus the score actually is what we're looking at in terms of.
Okay.
Because again, we don't stack the academic on top of our things. What we do is we give you the best scholarship possible that we can do within our program, and a lot of the other schools work that the same way. We have a couple of players that have very high ACT scores. They're here under academic scholarships, but they play league for us. So,
right.
Yeah.
So if I was to come play for you and be on,
are you eligible? What role do you play?
No.
Are you a mid laner?
No,
Darn.
you don't want me. Anyway, if I came to play for you and we had something worked out, like what would my time commitment really be? Like what would I have? I'm like, am I playing like 12 hours a day, 24 hours a day? Like what does this look like?
The running gag is keeping my guys out of the arena. That's the biggest problem that we have. You know, really, our school is actually, because we are an 80% varsity sports school, so 80% of our students are participating in some sort of varsity sport. We have tailored our classes so they all end at about 3:30. So what that gives us, what that gives you as an advantage as a student, is that you have a 3-hour commitment where you're involved in official practices, and then you have the evening off to actually get your study work done, or you do the same. Or because we run two separate programs, Overwatch and League, Overwatch plays in the evening and they do their study hall between 3 and 6. So about a 3-hour commitment is what you're officially on the hook for. Of course, what you do in your dorms or what you do in your off time.
Right.
You know, and again, we want to make, one of the things we want to try and do is make sure that you do get your academics in. So, I mean, you know, we try and make sure that that you're given time to do a study hall during that time where we have team study halls that we work on. You know, obviously, if you run into academic difficulties, we have tutors, we have services that help with regards to improving your grade. We'll limit your hours in the arena as well, just to make sure that you're focused on your academics. So there's a lot of you know, we want to make sure that. The best way I can describe it is that if you were a student athlete in our program, or if you're a student eSports athlete, the two are indivisible.
Okay.
If you're going to be a good eSports player, you need to be a student of the game. You need to study the game. You need to read, you know, you need to read up on your champions. You need to, if you're playing League, you need to know what all those items are and figure out what your itemization is. You got to study the film, so you apply your student skills to eSports. The skills that we hope you develop in eSports, dedication, discipline, competition, desire to win, are the same skills that you need to succeed as a student as well, right? You have to have that level of commitment with your student, with the type of level of commitment that you experience with eSports as a student as well. So the two roles are essentially the same thing. You know, if you're gonna, I mean, if you're really gonna get the best experience out of it, right, then you want to commit to the 4-year process that is going to get you your degree, as well as 4 years of experience playing competitively. You have both, right? Then you have more opportunities than you would if you were just a high schooler who plays esports, right? Or if you were just a collegiate student interested in computers but has never played esports. So you want to take them both equally and both seriously in order to succeed.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point. So you mentioned kind of the academic side of this, right? You know, do you have specific requirements at the academic level that the athlete must maintain a certain GPA or you know, attendance or something like that they got to do?
Yeah, attendance and GPA are the two things we look at very closely, and so we're going to have like you know, part of the requirement is that you maintain a 2.0 GPA, that you're required to attend classes. You know, I think a lot of it depends on the professor, but I think with us we're going to like four missed classes, basically, in terms of that before we start looking at you. So again, we want to make sure that we have that commitment in terms of sports. You know, some other things that are restricted by us because we're an athletic sport. You're required to maintain. You're required to do a physical before you come in. And you're required to check with our trainer on a regular basis. And I'm trying to remember, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. But so there is an athletic requirement as well in terms of.
So speaking of that, I mean, do they actually have to go work out every day? Like, are they lifting weights and pumping iron over here?
Well, you know, I'll tell you a fun story that we had. Because we're athletics, right? And again, League of Legends is, you know, eSports falls under the athletic program at Missouri Valley College. And we have a wonderful, you know, our athletic director, Tom Pfeiffer, is a wonderful guy. He's helped us out a lot. He was the one that actually got us started in this. And it was just kind of funny because when I got the job, he just sort of looked at me with the typical Missourian drawl and said, "So tell me, are the geeks going to start running this place?" And it was kind of fun, but he's been very supportive of us. But the second part of that was that we were, you know, Missouri Valley College has its homecoming tradition of a torch relay. And the torch relay requires each sport to bring 2 people in to run a 5K with a torch.
An actual 5K.
A 5K. And we're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did you guys even think this out? Fortunately for us, we had our jungler CB actually had run cross country before, and our top laner Boya is like he's a freak athletically. He's like really never run it before.
Wow.
He finished middle of the pack in a school with 80% athletes.
Wow, that's impressive.
But we don't at the moment we weren't able to actually implement a full athletic sort of training problem. That it was something we wanted to do this semester. We had other things we needed to iron out with it, but it is something that we're looking at and we're trying to develop. I've talked a little bit with our athletic trainer about what the needs of that program would be, what kind of physical skills are needed to be a good esports athlete, and so we're trying to work that into the program as we go.
Okay, that's good.
But they do also run laps if they screw up. If you int, you're running laps.
There we go. So I've got quite a few parents here today.
Yeah.
As a parent, as an actual student trying to get in, what are the kind of recruiting requirements? How do I get in? How do I start this?
Well, if you're looking to recruit, a lot of schools right now, because it's so new, we're using a variety of methods to recruit. Coming to events like this is one. There's a site called berecruited.com, which is another one. And there's a site that is an offshoot of it that its name escaped me, but there are Rex University is another one. REKT University is another one that has listings for esports as well. So those are programs that you can look at. If you do a profile on there, it's really important that you fill it out completely. If you just put your summoner name and don't put your rank up there and you don't have any VODs, you don't talk about yourself, then that's kind of a sign to us that you're probably not taking this as seriously as you should. So you want to fill that out as completely as possible. If you have VODs, if you have Twitch, make sure that you post it up there so we can look at it. Give us as much information as possible. For parents that are interested in it, again, the scholarship's going to vary from one to the next. One thing you should be aware of is that if your child is playing on console, they really should transition to PC especially for League and Overwatch. Well, League does play on console, but for Overwatch, a lot of Overwatch players play on console. They need to transition to PC before they get to university level.
Okay.
Now, it takes about a month to do that. We'll still look at you if you have a high ranking on that, but we would like to get you transitioned to PCs instead of console because all of the competition at our level takes place on PC. I'm sorry.
So all of your sports are PC based.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is other colleges kind of in that same boat? They're going down that PC?
Yeah. Because our governing bodies like the Collegiate Star League and TESPA and C-Law, which is run by Riot Games, all of those matches are all on PC, so that's basically a requirement for us.
I see.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they've heard all these hoops and hollers in the background that we've had going on during this conversation. To me, that kind of brings up another aspect of this whole picture, which is really that player dynamic, that whole chemistry of your team.
Yeah.
We know in the typical athletics, football, baseball, that's a huge aspect of the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you see from an esports and being a coach? How does that work in this aspect?
Well, I'll be honest, and no disparagement to all the COD players out there that like to pop off and be very expressive. We appreciate that. We are trying to develop a tradition, like I said. That's not going to get you a scholarship. That's all I'm saying. Okay? If you cannot keep your temper while you were playing this game and play as part of a team, and if you're going to insult your teammates, or if you're going to insult your opposition, we will not look at you. Okay? You need to break that habit. My hardest problem right now is keeping these guys from cussing, because I'm afraid the president's going to walk in here any minute, That type of attitude is going to run you into problems, because you have to play with these guys, right? In traditional sports, you are taught very early that type of behavior is not acceptable, right? That is something that we want to instill in our players, and when we talk to high school programs, we say the same thing. We've got to try and teach our students to avoid tilting. We've got to stop being so toxic. Because if we are, we're not only making it harder for us to sell our programs to parents, because parents are looking at that saying, I don't want my son being like that, right? Or my daughter being like that, you know? So this is an issue within the industry that we all need to address in order to accomplish it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're trying to teach that as best we can to our players, and our players understand what's required of them with regards to that.
Yeah.
And you have to understand, I mean, you win or you lose as a team.
That's right.
You know, and if one of your guys is having a bad day, then it's on you to try and carry him.
Yeah.
You know, if you're having a good day, you got to spread that lead out to everybody else. You know, so we really want to emphasize good chemistry, good, you know, good sportsmanlike conduct, right? In everything we do with esports, and it's hard. You know?
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned earlier was Twitch, right?
Yeah.
We know that that's a huge aspect of esports and how people are trying to be out there. Do you guys have any sort of restrictions or anything in that? Do you allow your players individually to still stream and do that?
Yeah.
Or how does that play into your space today in the college level?
If you are recruited by a college, you have to understand it's like being recruited by any organization. What you say or do on social media is going to reflect on the college. So you're free to stream, of course, but if something controversial happens on your site and you're the source of it, then that's going to be a serious problem for us. Right? We have our official Twitch stream that we use right now. Personally, it's my personal account because we set up an MDC one for Missouri Valley College and it kind of got hacked. So we stream at MDC Ocampo. And then our Overwatch player coach, he uses his for streaming as well. But if it's on there and it's branded by Missouri Valley College, then you're a representative of the college. And even if it's your private stream, you need to be aware that that's going to be the case as well. So if something happens on your stream, again, and you're the source of it, then that's not going to reflect well on the college.
Right.
And there are going to be consequences for that. So
That makes sense. You know, we see that all the time here as well. And that's definitely something that we don't condone, but we know it happens all over the place.
Exactly.
So-
It just takes discipline, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of Twitch and kind of doing that, do you guys offer anything for the sportscaster, that caster that's out there? We've got several casters here
Yeah.
today that are helping us cast our tournaments and things. You know, do you see that that's something that at the college level as well?
Yeah, we actually have a very strong broadcast program, especially a sports broadcast program. And they have expressed interest in helping us out with casting. Right now, Jacob Cooper, who is a freshman with us, he is on one of our teams and he's casting today our matches alongside some of your folks. You know, and he is, we're trying to get him, you know, sort of hooked up with the broadcast department so they can learn from him because they've only casted traditional sports. And he can learn from them because, you know, we have a wealth of knowledge of people who've done this professionally at Missouri Valley College. So, you know, he can learn a lot from traditional sports casting and they can learn about this new frontier that's
Right.
opening up. And hopefully down the road we can actually start looking at courses that are dedicated towards towards online casting, towards esports casting.
So if I'm a caster, I want to go be a caster.
Yeah.
So you would point me down the actual sports casting, you know, path.
Yeah.
Versus coming into it as an esports type person.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
because there's a lot to learn from traditional casting. Obviously, they have a longer tradition of, you know, of broadcasting, you know, than Lee does, and of course, you know, the basics of casting effectively, having a good, you know, vocal presence, knowing how to deal with dead air. All of that is you know, those are the same problems that traditional casters have been dealing with for centuries now.
Absolutely.
So you can learn a lot from a traditional broadcast program, even if they don't know a lot about these sports.
Right.
You know, if they're smart, they're interested in learning, and that's what the mobile broadcast department is interested in doing. So it's a two-way street.
All right. So we've talked about a lot of things. We've gone through a lot of different areas and aspects. You know, what is that one or two nugget that you want to provide to those parents and to those athletes, those future players of yours, right? That you know, that you want to get across to make sure that they get it.
Well, I think if you are interested in pursuing a collegiate, you know, a collegiate scholarship, obviously you want to get to as high a level as possible. If you have a high school that offers esports, then you should become a member of the team. If you do not have a high school that actually has an esports team, then you need to found one. Again, our caster Jake Jacob Cooper did the exact same thing at his school. He left a legacy there where they now have 60 students enrolled in their program. He's the first of them to get a scholarship. So, if you can get a teacher involved and get that founded at the high school level, then that makes you even more interesting to us because you have organizational skills. For parents, this is becoming just as legitimate a college as any other traditional sport that's out there. And for your student, for your child to succeed at it, they need to start looking at it in the same way. And you want to try and encourage them to get their practice hours in, to balance their time, between gaming and academics, of course. If you can help them out by getting them tutoring or coaching, which is available to you online, that's something that can help them out as well. You want to make sure that they understand that this is academics and sports going hand in hand, so they know what's going to be expected of them. Check out all the colleges that are out there. If you don't really know the game, that's one of the things that we always have problems with, is trying to explain games to parents. Yeah. And I've told this joke a bazillion times, so I'm sure my players back there are rolling their eyes. But we're hoping, like right now, it's like parents are watching matches and they go like, did he do? Is that? Oh, yeah. Did we win? Okay, great. And 5 years from now, it's going to be like, oh no, you did not get my son. You did not do that to my mom. That's going to be the change that we hopefully see over time. But that's going to take time, and it takes time to learn the game. Once you learn the game, it's actually a lot of fun to watch. Overwatch is always interesting, and League of Legends, if you know what's going on. We had, Rizgo over there he's a golf major, or he plays golf in addition to eSports. He brought some of his, go ahead and wait. We have 2 international students, Rizgo from Slovakia, and we also have Chico, who's the first Brazilian player ever to get things. But Rizgo brought in a bunch of his friends on the golf team. They didn't know about eSports. We taught them in 5 minutes, and they were on the edge of their seats for every match. So it's possible to learn the game and understand what's going on. We actually have some of our parents here too, actually watching the game. So get educated in the game. Be aware of the perils of tilting and toxic behavior. Try and encourage your children to be better than their opponents in that regard, because that's something that will help get them recruited. And consider this as the way you would baseball or any other sport. As far as getting your students educated. Again, with students, everything I've said about to your parents is the same thing. Develop positive attitudes, develop a good attitude towards schooling, prove that you can act in a disciplined manner, get team experience when you can, be as non-toxic as possible, and that will help get you recruited.
Oh, that's awesome. I agree that they definitely have to figure out how to become that non-toxic player just to be able to fit in well with everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's see if there's anybody that's got some questions from the audience. If not, then we can wrap things up. Questions?
Yeah. How many scholarships a year do you have?
We are at the policy that we will offer scholarships for any person that we recruit, depending on size. Obviously, we recruited 30 this year. We offered 30 scholarships for all of them. When we offer scholarships, again, it'll depend on what our rate of attrition is and what the team's needs are. So, anywhere from 4 to 8 positions might open up depending on how well or how poorly we do. And so we basically sort of look at that, in terms of what the team's needs are. We're hoping to expand the program from 30 to about 50 next year. So that means there'll be a lot more scholarships that are available in a variety of different games. We're looking at Fortnite, Hearthstone, as well as trying to expand our repertoire a bit. We'd like to get a second team of Rocket League, third team of Overwatch. So, so it really varies from what the school's needs are from a starter program like us. Obviously we're going to need more students than that. Other programs that are well established, there'll be fewer scholarships available. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
How would student coaching?
Well, student coaching is one of those things that you really need to find the right person for that kind of job. I lucked out with our Overwatch player coach. His name is Craig Sumter. His call sign's deleted. He was somebody who had been out of school, had gotten a couple of years of college, and had played sports in high school, had become a very, very good coach outside, had coaching experience outside, which is something you want to look for. The trick is finding somebody who's interested in coaching, who's also interested in a degree, right? So as a cost-saving measure, if you can find somebody like that, either willing to get a undergraduate degree, which is a little bit dicey because maturity level might not be there, or somebody interested in a graduate degree, which is something that we do with all of our programs at Missouri Valley College. We have a graduate assistantship program where they come in as an effective coach, and we offer them a really generous scholarship to help get their graduate program on. It's the kind of thing where it can work, but you have to be very careful about who you let in, because they may have the knowledge of the game, but not the interpersonal skills, not the maturity, not being able to deal with interpersonal conflicts. And as you and I both know, coaching, that's 10% of what we do, right? The rest of it is administration, logistics, psychological counseling, couples counseling, just about everything you can imagine. And that's the rest of it. And that's true for all coaching, That's what my assistant AD told me when I walked in. That, and we're staking our rep. What was it? One of the other staff looked at me, was having a difficult day, and he said, just remember, you're staking your reputation on the decisions of 18-year-olds. So, sorry.
Yep, makes sense.
So it can work if you find the right person. I was lucky in the sense that I found, that I found somebody in Craig that actually had that maturity level that could really help us with Overwatch, because that's not a game that I'm familiar with, right? But you have to be very careful about it, basically. And again, at the graduate level, if you can find somebody who's interested in a graduate degree, then that works out really well too. There are some players here that are just better understand mechanics, and if they tutor the other players on that, that's fine. It's just one of those things you have to be careful about. Who's in charge, right, and how much rope you're comfortable giving them, in order to get done what you need to get done, right? So it's tricky. It can work, but you have to be very careful about screening somebody who's going to come in like that.
Well, that's really awesome. I didn't even realize that you did it from the graduate program. I think that's a really great way to do it.
Exactly.
Provide that maturity that you're looking for, as well as the potential coach aspect.
Yeah, and again, that's something that not a lot of graduate students are aware of just yet. Which
Absolutely.
Sort of get out there that if you are already graduated and looking for a graduate degree, or if you just want to try and get a coaching experience and you want to get a master's while you're at it,
right?
Then that's another avenue that's open to you. Come in as a graduate assistant, you get 1-2 years of work as assistant coach. We've hired students who are graduate assistants to coach full time in Missouri. So that's another way of actually a pathway to a full time job.
Right. No, I like that. Other questions?
I think this
Yeah.
kind of came to mind was that how do you penetrate students who are overseas while you're academics? Do you compare them to professional players such a large
Yeah. It's an interesting question, because when I was thinking about that myself, it is similar to the situation I think in baseball, where you have two streams of professional things. You can you can finish high school and get into the draft, right? And you have no high school degree and you're playing, rookie league, AAA, et cetera, for peanuts, and start there. Like, I'm sure the academy teams are probably better than that, but that's the academy path that you can go. The collegiate team scene right now, because it's just developing, a lot of players see this as a chance to get some really strong competition. Some of them, admittedly don't finish their degrees because they get an offer from the academy team if they're that good, right? I mean, schools that have gotten challenger teams, they'll have them for 2 years and then they'll move on. So it's a question really of, I think if you're an eSports athlete, it's a question really of how you're going to, I think you can do both. If you are looking at not just simply becoming an eSports player, if you want a job in the industry, then it's a better choice for you to go to college, because it leaves the door open to become a player later, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Oh, I see, yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. if it's a choice, it's your academics for us, right? And obviously this is an endemic problem in all varsity programs, right? I mean, you know, you can talk about how the NCAA runs this and how most of their players at the NCAA level are de facto football players first, right? And so they're supposed to only limit their practices to what, like 30 or 40, 20 hours a week? That's not happening, you know that, right? You know, at our level, because we're still developing it, you know, I think different schools are going to take different models to it. Some will go the NCAA route. I would not like that to see that happen because I think that where the strength of eSport is the fact that if you are in eSports, it offers you more of a career path than traditional sports might. You know, if you have eSports on your resume, then computer companies will see that and they'll see that as a plus. Right? Now granted, not to disparage traditional sports, but if they say you played baseball in college, that's not going to impress a recruiter as much as someone who's actually been involved in something that is relevant to the industry, right? So the way that I would say that is that if you're going to go to college, then for us anyways, you know, I will judge my success by how many people I get to graduate in 4 years. Right? That's how I measure my success. Some of them may leave because they need to go to better schools. Some of them may get better offers and go to, get an eSport job in eSports, you know, because of their experience, or they might go to an academy team. I'm okay with that, right? I'm not okay with players who come and flunk out, you know, because they were playing too much. You know, I'm not comfortable with players that take eSports so seriously that they let their grades slip and they get bounced out of the school. Because really, you know, what again, just to my own personal perspective, we have students in our program right now for whom this is a second chance. Students who never thought they'd get a chance to go to college, right? Never thought they would be here, and they're here now. Their parents, I mean, I've seen parents in tears because this opportunity came up. And they never thought that their students would get that opportunity. But if you're going to do this, you need to make sure that you understand that win or lose, for me, I want to see you at graduation. You know, that's the attitude that I want to have at Missouri Valley College. Whatever other colleges do, that's their business. But I know what we're doing at MVC. We're going to try and get as many of those guys that are sitting behind you right now. We want to make sure that all of them are there at the end of this 4-year program. You know, all of them have degrees in their hands. Either they're going on to a better thing, you know, from their experience here, or they're getting other degrees, right? Which is still good. I hope that answers your question.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. I really like the fact that these guys are focused on that. They're getting their academics. They're getting that degree at the end.
Yeah, they got their degree. They got their exams coming in. You better be.
I'm sure they're all ready. I'm sure they're all ready. All right. Do we have any other questions? You guys good? All right. Well, Patrick, thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming up and talking about it.
Bellevue is here. Newman is here. Columbia College, Southwest Baptist, correct?
McPherson. Let's see, who else is over there? Park University's over there. Yeah, Ben's over there. CMU's over there. So we got quite a few colleges here today. We're going to continue to expand this year over year, and you know, we're here to try to help connect both the students, both at the high school and college level, to help out to get them to that career. And you can find us at www.moval.edu. Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Good. Good questions. Thanks. Do you have a group or something?